Welcome back. But before I get started on chapter 12, I got some questions from last chapter that I forgot to ask. Okay, so last chapter wrapped up with them escaping, right? And where they gonna go now? Like, are they gonna go to Philip's house? Which wouldn't be a good idea because that'll be the first place that people will look. The law will look. Then, won't they know that Adam was part of it? Because when he was in the closet and he heard them, he didn't try to get out, but all of a sudden he was able to get out. So there's going to be damage to the closet door. And then there's going to be a record of a phone call. But when they got the caller ID was blocked. Did Adam block the call? But still, it's still going to be a call, right? And then they didn't see David forcing Philip. So Philip is really risking his job. Okay, now let's get to chapter 12. Rachel heard the sirens too. She was having breakfast at Nesbitt Station Diner, an eatery inside two converted rail cars with a menu only slightly shorter in word count than your average novel. Her favorite listing on the menu listed under 40 different ways of having a burger: beef, bison, chicken, turkey, elk, portobello mushroom, wild salmon, cod, black beans, veggie, plant-based, lamb, pork, olive, etc. Was the "my wife doesn't want anything," which was their way of supersizing your French fries order and throwing in two mozzarella sticks. The diner had a sign at the door saying open 24 hours but not in a row before stating their working hours, which went from 5 a.m. until 2 a.m., Monday through Saturday. Another sign read, BYOB, but we encourage you to share with your server. The air fryer cheeseburger last night had been pretty good, but the draw of this place for Rachel was the excellent Wi-Fi. The Briggs Motor Lounge Wi-Fi was so bad she thought she heard a phone modem shriek when she tried to access it. The lounge, a word with too many meanings, also didn't have a bar or restaurant, just a foyer by the front desk that featured free continental breakfast, a truly upmarket term for a stale roll and a half-melted margarine packet. The diner's clock had all numbers fives on it, with the word no drinking until after 5 across the face. Still, an hour until visiting hours, enough time to continue her research. That was why she had camped out here last night and again this morning, nursing coffee and ordering enough so as not to draw eye daggers for taking up a booth. Her laptop had been humming all night, unearthing a mixed bag of information. On the negative side, she had not been able to find one Caucasian male between the ages of 2 and 3 anywhere in the country who had disappeared and remained missing some 5 years later. That would fit the timeline of Matthew's murder. Not one. Some boys that age had died. Some had even been kidnapped, usually in custody battles, and eventually found. 3 had even vanished for as long as 8 months before their bodies were located. But so far, not one child who could fit the criteria remained unaccounted for, thus raising the most troublesome question. If the body wasn't Matthew's, whose was it? Of course, it was still early. She would widen the search, try more months, farther away from the area, check other databases. Maybe the dead boy in Matthew's bed, God, that sounded so crazy, had been younger or older or light-skinned black or a Eurasian or something else entirely. Rachel would be thorough. Before her scandal, she had been known as a ruthless researcher. Still, there was no other way to spin it. This nobody news was a blow to any theory about Matthew being alive. Matthew alive. Seriously, how crazy pants was that theory anyway? The more positive news, if you could call any of this positive, involved the main witness against David, the sweet old lady, as the media had naturally dubbed her, Hilda Winslow. Locating the elderly widow should, in theory, have been no problem. When it first proved difficult, Rachel wondered whether the woman had passed away in the last 5 years, but there was no record of her dying. In fact, Rachel had only been able to find 2 people with that name. One of the Hills was 30 years old, lived in Portland, Oregon. The other was a 4th grader in Crystal River, Florida. Nope, double nope. The name Hild was derived from the more common name Hilda. No surprise there. The court documents from David's case and all the pursuant media listed her as Hild. But just to cover all the bases, Rachel tried Hilda Winslow. There were only 2 of them as well, and neither fit the profile. Then she tried Hilda Winslow's maiden name. Women often go back to using that, but that too bore no fruit. A dead end. The siren, Rachel assumed that it was some sort of fire alarm, kept screeching. Her phone buzzed. She checked the number and saw it was Tim Doherty, her old friend from her days at the Globe, calling her back. Tim had been one of the few to stick with her when the shit hit the fan. What is the shit? Not publicly, of course. That would have been career suicide. She didn't want that for him or anyone else. I got it, Tim said to her. The entire murder file? The court documents and transcripts. There's no way the cops are going to let me look at their murder book. Did you get Hilda Winslow's social security number? Yes. Can I ask why you want it? I need to find her. Yeah, I figure that. Why not go the regular routes? I did. And you got nothing, he said. She could hear the lilt in Tim's voice. That's right. Why? What did you get? I took the liberty of running a social security number. And 2 months after your brother-in-law trial, Hilda Winslow changed her name to Harriet Winchester. Pay dirt, Rachel thought. Whoa. Yeah, he said. She also sold her house and moved to an apartment on 12th Street in Manhattan. He rattled off the address. By the way, she turns 81 this week. So why would a woman of her age change her name and move? Rachel asked. Post-trial press? Come again? This murder was a big story, Tim said. Yeah, but come on. Once her part was over, there was no more scrutiny on her. The press was like the worst womanizer. Once it's metaphorically bedded someone, it quickly grew bored and moved on to something new. A name change, while perhaps explainable, was extreme and curious. Fair, he said. Do you think she lied about your brother-in-law? I don't know. Rachel, yes? You got something big here, don't you? I think so. Normally I would ask for a taste, he said, but you need it more than I do. You deserve another chance. And this world doesn't like to give that to people anymore. So if you need anything else from me, you let me know, okay? She felt tears come to her eyes. You're the best, Tim. I know, right? Talk soon. Tim hung up. Rachel wiped her eyes. She stared out the diner window into the crowded parking lot, the siren still blaring in the distance. The world may even eventually give Rachel another chance, but she wasn't sure she deserved it. It had been 2 years since Catherine Tull's death at Rachel's hand. Ooh, there's something. We found out something. So Catherine wouldn't get another chance. Why should Rachel? It had been the most important story of Rachel's career. After an exhausting 8-month investigation, the Globe's Sunday magazine was going to feature her expose of Lamar University beloved President Spencer Shane for not only turning a blind eye over the past 2 decades to sexual assault, abuse, and misconduct by certain male professors, but participating in a pattern of systematic abuse and cover-ups at one of the country's elite institutions. It was a case so egregious. I had this word before. Yeah, I'm going to put it on the screen. Hold on. Yeah, yet so frustrated and slippery that Rachel grew obsessed in a way no journalist should. She lost perspective, not on the outrageousness of the crime and culture. There was no way you couldn't be outraged by that, but on the frailty and decency of the victims. Limhall University, her alma mater, managed to get a lot of NDA signs so no one could or would go on record. While Rachel kept it from her editors, she herself had been pressured to sign one her freshman year after a disturbing incident at a Halloween party. She refused. The school mishandled her case. Maybe that was where it started. She lost then. She wouldn't lose again, so she went too far. In the end, the charges was too loaded for the Globe to publish because no one could slip past the NDAs. Rachel couldn't believe it. She went to the local DA, but he didn't have the appetite to take on such a popular figure and institution. So she went back to her former classmate, Catherine Toole, and begged her to break her NDA. Catherine wanted to. That's what she told Rachel, but she was afraid. She wouldn't budge. So that was it. That was what was going to kill the entire story and allow an institution that had let Rachel's own attacker skate to remain unblemished. Rachel could not allow that. With no other alternatives available, Rachel went harder at Catherine Toole. Do the right thing and get exposed anyway. If Catherine couldn't put other victims first, then Rachel saw no reason to protect her. She would take the story online herself and reveal her sources. Catherine started to cry. Rachel didn't budge. Half an hour later, Catherine saw the light. She didn't need the money from the settlement. She didn't care about the NDAs. She would do the right thing. Catherine Toole hugged her friend and sorority sister and told her that tomorrow she would give Rachel a longer interview and go on the record. And then that night, after Rachel left her apartment, Catherine Toole filled a bath full of water and slit her wrist. Whoa. Now Catherine haunted her. She was here right now, sitting across the diner booth from her, smiling in that unsure way she always did, blinking as though awaiting the blow, until Rachel heard her waitress, a blue-haired diner special if ever she seen one, say to the customer at the table next to Rachel, "I haven't heard that go off in how long, Cal?" The man she assumed was Cal said, "Oh, years now." "You think?" "Nah," Cal said. "Briggs is probably just running a drill. I'm sure it's nothing." Rachel froze. "You say so," the waitress said, but judging by the expression on her face, she wasn't fully buying it. Rachel leaned over and said, "Excuse me, I don't mean to pry, but is that siren coming from Briggs Penitentiary?" Cal and the waitress exchanged a glance. Then Cal nodded and gave her his most condescending smile. I wouldn't worry your pretty head over it. It's probably just a drill." "A drill for what?" Rachel asked. "An escape," the waitress said. "They only blow that whistle when an inmate escapes." Her cell phone buzzed. Rachel stepped away and put the phone to her ear. "Hello? I need your help," David said. That's the end of chapter 12. Ooh. Okay, so we now know what Rachel did to mess up her job. So she forced somebody tried to force somebody to tell the story about the university, and that person, yeah. And I guess that was career suicide for Rachel. Okay. So what else? Okay. The chapter was okay. It had details. Yes, it had details. And let me think, anything else? Nope, it don't address too much of nothing, but David called Rachel. Is she going to help him? She started it all, so she better help him, right? Okay, so we got to find out where they're going, if Rachel going to help David, and how is Matthew alive? And if not, who did it? Guess we'll find out in the rest of the chapters. See you in the next chapter. Bye.